back to the Daughters of the Moon podcast. We're grateful that you can join us for another week. And Mom and I are excited today. We have Gwyneth Flack on with us. She is the author of Limitless, Transform Your Life with Intuition and Creativity, released in May 2025. She's a transformational teacher and coach, passionate about helping people tap into their intuition, amplify their creative power, and cultivate deeper, more fulfilling relationships. Since 2007, Gwyneth has empowered thousands of professionals through private sessions and courses offering beginner to advanced intuitive development tools to help people thrive and become more grounded in today's fast-paced world. With a unique ability to bridge the gap between intuition and everyday life, Gwyneth specializes in guiding others to uncover their innate gifts, reduce self-critical thinking, and foster a life of harmony and purpose. Her work is rooted in authenticity, laughter, and a deep understanding of the human experience. Gwyneth finds joy in her Vermont home with her family, where she co-founded an organic maple syrup business with her husband, alongside her main focus as a teacher and author. Gwyneth's love for travel, nature, and heartfelt connection inspires her mission to help others embrace their limitless potential. So, welcome, Gwyneth. We're really
Nice.
excited to have you on.
Thank you so much for having me on. I love your podcast.
Oh,
Thank you.
thank you. So, what inspired you to write this book?
Well, I've been teaching since 2007, and that's what really inspired me to write this book because I I'm a teacher of clairvoyance and all kinds of intuitive based classes, intuitive based meditation classes. And in the process of teaching lots of people how to access their intuition or how to access their clairvoyance, when I say those words, it's kind of one and the same. It's just different ways of talking about the same thing, really. When I just noticed that people hit certain road bumps when they go to develop their intuitive awareness in general. And the people that I've been helping over the years, they want to access their intuition. They want to heal certain parts of their lives or heal past experiences they've had. They want to bring their intuition into their workplace and their family life. And they really want to explore that part of themselves. And so I started to notice that people tend to hit up against when they're developing their intuition, they go into their intellect and then they start to question whether it's their intuition or not. So their intellect, and what I mean by that is, I mean, we all have our intellects, and our intellects really, it's our learned knowledge. And so because when we're little we go into the school system, the first thing that happens is we start to develop our intellects, and everything else tends to kind of get pushed by the wayside in that focus just to develop our intellects. And so what happens is our creativity and our intuition, our inner knowing, our inner guidance, whatever you want to call it, that kind of gets sidelined. And we spend all this time developing our intellects, and then we, get all this other training, whatever professional training we get to go into our work lives. And then people come to a certain point where they've achieved a certain level with their lives, whatever that might be. And they go, you know what? I'm sure that I'm a really intuitive person, but I did not know how to get there. I keep second guessing myself. So people tend to really second guess their intuition. They don't trust it. They're not sure if it was their intuition or if it was really just a thought they were having, that kind of thing. And so a great starting point for tapping into your intuition is being able to distinguish what's my intellect and what's my intuition, because it's really two different energies. And so that really kind of inspired the book. And then also, how how does our intuition heal our lives? And how do we become more consciously aware of carrying around all this this energy in our spaces from being healers, because everyone that I've taught over the years, that's the other thing I've noticed, they're all healers. They all want to make the world a better place, help people, and really just shine their light in the world. And so those are the people that also end up carrying the weight of the world on their shoulders. So there's a lot of different areas that I explore in the book, but it was really based on what I was seeing again and again, people getting burnt out in their professions and in their personal lives, and people also not knowing whether they're tapping into their intuition and how do I develop it and become more intuitive. And then people who want to heal their lives and create a new experience for themselves instead of being kind of stuck in the same old patterns that, they got into with all their intellectual training, because they want to expand their lives, and it's fun. It's fun to expand your life too. So yeah, I hope that's kind of a little bit about why I wrote Limitless, my book.
No, it makes sense to me because people do they listen to their conscious mind during the day and they forget to shut that down for a little bit and go into the other side to let it happen. So good stuff to show. Good stuff.
Yeah, it's really true because it's like we don't have to be in our intuitive space all the time. We can tap into that intuitive space, and then we can, like let's say we're looking for an idea to start a new business, or we're looking for some way to communicate with somebody that would really change things for the positive. You know, we can pause the intellectual part of ourselves and ask for guidance. And that guidance comes. And then after that, we might get more into, like, let's say we got a great idea for a business or something like that, or a book to write. Then we sit down and we use our intellect to edit that book or to put the paragraphs into a structure or whatever. Or we use our intellect to make us, really kind of create the structure for what the download is that came from our intuition. So it's really a relationship, this really fun relationship that we can harmonize.
Mhm. And I think a lot of people get confused, like they don't trust that it's their intuition. So can you talk
Yeah.
a little bit about that, of how people can kind of tap into that, to knowing that it's not just some made up thought that they're thinking, but it's an actual intuition that they're having to move forward in either their career or life in general.
Yeah, I mean, our intuition tends to be really simple and really direct and gentle too. It's not going to be critical. It's not going to be, giving us some kind of critical, feedback, criticizing us. And our intuition is really defenseless, where our intellect tends to want to defend itself. And
Yeah.
so it's kind of funny, right? Our intuition is defenseless. It's just going to keep giving us the same message in different ways, maybe over time until we start to hear it. Like it might be like, take care of your health. Maybe you need to get this supplement, or maybe, eat healthy, or whatever it might be, or it's giving us a message, oh, this is not a good relationship for you, or hey, this is a great relationship, or, you know, go and check out this online place to look for this certain job that you're looking for. Like it'll just give us this very simple messaging. And our intellect tends to add complexity. Our intellect will say, well, prove it to me, or, are you sure that that's really what's going on? Like, for example, one time, actually, this is kind of a more extreme example, but one time I was walking along a beach in the South Pacific and I was looking at all these beautiful shells. And on the beach were all these, hermit crabs, right? there were all these hermit crabs, and they were big, and they were using all different kinds of shells. This is part of the story, part of the setup for it. So I was there were all these hermit crabs using all these different kinds of shells. I'm walking along and just kind of picking up shells that are empty. And I see this, I wander into the water just a little ways. I see this beautiful shell in there that I'd never seen before. And I really wanted to know if it was empty. So I reached toward it, and I got this direct, simple message from my intuition, which was, don't touch that shell. It's dangerous. And so I paused because I'm in the habit, the practice of listening to my intuition, which is the best way to develop your intuition is just make it a practice in your everyday life. So I listened to my intuition, but I still was so curious. I sort of started to override my intuition. I reached toward it again, and I got messaged again, don't touch, I'm dangerous. And so at that point, I was like, whoa, okay, this is interesting. But my intellect said, oh, that's just a hermit crab sending out a message, or, vibing you so that you won't pick it up. That shell is not dangerous. It's just a hermit crab. And because you know how some animals protect themselves with, like, they're like a certain kind of butterfly or whatever, have a certain pattern on them that looks like eyes or whatever. Lots of animals have something on the outside to protect themselves. So my intellect was giving me all this information that was general, not specific to the situation. It was saying, well, da 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 da, theoretically, this and that, and totally adding complexity, and really just kind of giving me general intellectual information. And my intuition was very specific for the situation. So I said, okay, I'm going to trust my intuition. That's my normal. And I just walked away. And then when I went back to the place where we're staying, their daughter, totally unprompted, said to me, you see that shell right there? And she pointed to a shell on a shelf. And she said, that shell is empty, but if you ever see this shell in the water, whatever you do, do not pick it up. It's very dangerous. And the creature that inhabits that can dart out and puncture your skin, and you can die really quickly. It's very dangerous. And so that totally validated my intuition, and I was so glad I followed it, because really there's no way I can know all about South Pacific marine life. I mean, I live in Vermont. I don't even live on the ocean. So that's just an example of how our intellect adds complexity. It gives us a general context, and it bases it on past time, something past time. And our intuition is very present time. And it's just very straightforward, and really, hopefully following your intuition doesn't have to be dramatic like that. If you make it part of your everyday life, that's when you really build trust with it. Because when I was in that situation in the South Pacific, I'd been tapping into my intuition for a long time and learning to trust it for a very long time. But a lot of times, what happens is we wait for an extreme situation, something's going on in our lives, and we really want to know, we really want answers. And we can't maybe get answers just from our intellect. We're looking for something deeper. And we don't want to wait until it's a big deal situation. We want to really use our intuition even when we're in the grocery store, just for fun, as a way to build trust. Like, hey, which peaches should I pick to put into my, basket or whatever? Or, oh, I should I go to the Chinese restaurant tonight to eat, or should I go to the Indian restaurant? Whatever it would be. Like, use our intuition for what's going to be the tastiest restaurant out of two that we're picking. So it's safe. That way it's safe. Or, where should I park in the parking lot when I go to the mall? That might be most likely to have an open spot because it's a really busy Saturday. If we're using our intuition like that, then we can get that validation right away of like, oh, well, maybe I should have picked the other restaurant because I know my intuition actually guided me to the other restaurant, but I second guessed it. That's okay, no big deal. Or, I was gonna grab the peaches, but then I went and grabbed the nectarines, and actually, I think the peaches might have been more,
A
tasty or
better
whatever.
idea.
So, so if we make it really simple like that, and then after that, as we start to build more trust with it, then when it comes time for those really big deal situations, like like somebody wants to change careers, or they want to move to a different country or to the other side of the country, and they're trying to figure out where to live, or they want to know if they should get a divorce or if they should get into a relationship with this person that they think that they like, those really key decisions, or it might be for somebody, where do I send my kid to preschool or something like that, making decisions on behalf of your children. That's an area where I've certainly used my intuition a lot as a mom.
Mhm.
So yeah, there's just so many ways. I think we have to play with it and not get serious about it. I think that's the thing, is we're taught to take everything really seriously and make everything a really serious practice. And then as soon as we start to get too serious about something, it actually gets harder when it comes to our intuition.
That's the truth.
It
Yeah.
is true. Yeah. Well, and like you say, we always second guess, right? Like all of a sudden you'll be like, turn left. Why? That's not the right way. Well, there's probably a reason. Maybe you're going to miss out on traffic, or maybe whatever, right? An accident was there or would be there. I mean, we don't always know. And I think it's funny because I journal in the morning, and this morning I was journaling about getting healthier. And okay, I made this plan for myself and I'm getting all these things. And then I pulled a card, and the card was healthy lifestyle changes. And I was like, okay. It was like there was my intuition saying, here's the
Yep.
card you need to give you validation that this is
What
you're
you
on the
do.
right path,
Yeah.
right?
I love that you're saying that, because that's exactly how it comes in. I mean, sometimes I'll pull a card for something and it's like, okay, yes, I hear you. And sometimes it's like I've already gotten the intuitive hit many times, and then I pull a card, or I turn on the radio and the song comes on and the lyrics exactly relate to what I need to know, what I'm going through, that kind of thing. I mean, our intuition comes to us so many ways, like through a card that we pull, through a song on the radio, through what somebody else says. It might be that we're just standing in line at the grocery store and we're trying to make some kind of big decision, and we get into a conversation with a stranger, and suddenly they say something that we know is just a message for us. It's just something really simple and short. We never see that person again. And so it can come like that through somebody else, or a good friend. A good friend just starts talking about their own life, and we realize that they don't even know something that we might be going through. Maybe it's private. And they literally start giving us a message that's really useful to us. And they don't even know. They just, well, they do, they don't know. I say that, but we're all intuitive. Everyone's intuitive. So we're tuned into each other so often. We sit down to have coffee with somebody, with a friend or something like that. And maybe we're not saying everything that's going on with us, but we're both tuned into each other. We're both picking up on things. And so often we end up get receiving something that was just what we needed to hear. And then the other thing is dreams. I love getting information through dreams. That can be so helpful. And I will ask very specifically before I go to bed, I would love some information about my next steps with, whatever it might be, fill in the blank. Or I would love to get clarity on two things I'm trying to choose between, or should I go forward with this new project, or what should I say to this person to really, connect with them in a way, and they need some help or something like that. Whatever it might be, what should I do as a parent in relation to my child, whatever it might be. And it's amazing how in the morning that information, if I just give myself a pause when I wake up in the morning, that information will often come to me, or other times I just have a dream. Like let's say, one time I had a dream about a friend, and the dream was that she wanted to change her career. And I woke up in the morning and I was like, I don't think my friend wants to change her career. She's never said anything about that before. And then when I went to have dinner with her the next week, she was like, I'm thinking about changing my career, you know?
And you're
So
like,
like, what? Or even before I met my husband, we, I mean, we knew each other as friends, but I, I was having I was dreaming about him, and I would wake up and I'd be like, oh, that's interesting. I had a dream about him. And then, one night I had a dream about him, and the next day I was just at a gas station in a completely different town than the town I live in, and there he was pumping gas, and I was pumping gas, and we struck up a conversation that led to, our first date. So it was like the universe was giving me that guidance, this person, this person, you don't know them well, they're through the larger friend group, but maybe it's somebody you should pay attention to. So the dream was sort of telling me, and then I was set up in those circumstances where we just started to have a conversation, and that just led naturally into spending some time together. So dreams are a great way, I think.
yeah, I agree with you. I dream journal and I love that. And I was just actually sharing with mom today. I had this dream the other night and there was nobody in the dream that I recognized, but there was this
Yeah.
blonde Australian kind of guy. And so he was talking to me and said something to me and then he come back and then he said, you're not really living if you're afraid of dying. I said, well, you already told me that. He goes, well, then that's a real message for you, isn't it? And I was like, I woke up in the morning and I'm like, okay, that like I have to write that down because obviously there's some message in that for me because they basically said, here's your message,
Yeah.
right? So it was
Yeah.
interesting. It hasn't landed what the meaning behind it is, but when you were talking about that, I thought I'd share that because it's interesting when you do start dream journaling and paying attention to your dreams, like you were saying
Yeah,
too,
yeah,
just the different messages that do come.
yeah.
Yeah, it's so true. I mean, we're just not taught any of this, or at least in most of us, when we're growing up, we're not taught to keep a dream journal like you do. And maybe you were taught that, but
She
by
was.
your mom, I don't know.
She was, because when they were younger, sort of was like I had a dream and it'd say, "Oh, I had a book," and I called it sort of like my Bible. And I would say, "Okay," they would tell me they had dreams. I would look at it and see what it said, and interpret it my own way too. So yeah, they did grow up, both her and her brother, and their friends, with that. So they knew that dreaming, look it up or figure it out. Try to figure out what it's trying to say to you. Because it probably has a message.
See, that's such a gift. I mean, that you received that from your mom is life-changing in a lot of ways,
It really is.
because
Really is.
you had that validation from your mom to tap into your inner guidance
Yeah.
and to tap into your intuition, whatever you might call it. Everybody might call it something different. And I feel that's really special because so many people don't have that when they're growing up. And so they have to circle back to it as adults and kind of not start at the beginning, but, do some work, do some inner work to get there, to get where they want to go. It's fun work, if you ask me. It's way more fun than like homework when you go to school.
It is.
100%.
It
Yeah.
is. The thing happened to me the other day. I moved into an area 4 years ago, and a lot of my neighbors don't know what I do. I'm not one of those people. So, anyways, I'm out
Yeah.
there talking to this neighbor, and yesterday, and this feather all of a sudden came and went around her and landed in between the two of us on the ground. And I said to her, "Oh, we obviously have two angels here with us right now too." And she goes, "Oh my God, I didn't know you believed in that stuff." So I went, "Actually,
Yeah.
I guess you don't know what I do." So she go, "I did," sort of thing. So the conversation progressed from there. But it was kind of interesting because it showed me that, I needed to say something about it. right? It was time for me to bring that out and so that she knew that I was of like mind, right?
Oh, I love what you're saying about that. Y- I have had that experience so many times where sometimes I don't share what I do. I just, I'm just going about in the
Same.
world, or sometimes I think that somebody's not interested. And so I'm like, oh, I'm not going to talk about that. They're probably not interested in that. And then when I do, or when I get the guidance, and actually asking for guidance for that is so valuable, and you get that sort of green light, it's amazing who is interested in this work, in this area, in spiritual growth and tapping into your intuition or angels, whatever it might be. Um, it's amazing how many people surprise us. That's what happened since publishing my book, which is just recent. It was only the early June that it came out, or late May that it came out. There are people who have surprised me who I did not think were interested in getting in touch with their intuition or any of this kind of thing, who bought the book, or they came to the book, what do you call it, launch, at the bookstore, the book event, and then they bought the book, or they bought it. And then like a certain person that I know, I thought, oh, she is not going to be interested, because it always seemed like she kind of wasn't interested. And then I saw her about a month after the book came out, and she had bought the book, and she just suddenly started talking to me about the whole book and asking me all kinds of questions. She was like, what do I do with this work situation? In terms of how do I use my intuition to figure out what I should do to make the right choice? And this whole thing, and it really surprised me. And so that's been a real gift to me and helped me to kind of, um, I don't know, share the work with more people. Or so I really think it's an interesting thing who's interested. I think more and more people are.
I think
Yeah.
so too. I
Yeah.
think we've shifted now that more people are starting to understand and want this in their life, right? And
Yeah,
I love too how you said, like with your intuition, where with your husband, and it guides you, right? Like, here's where you need to be. Go to this store, or go down this path, or whatever it is.
yeah.
And once we really trust into that intuition, I think that happens more and more often.
Yeah. Yeah.
It sure does. And it comes through our knowing, like we can just have a knowing, where it's like, how do you know? I don't know. I just know. Like one time when my daughter was like 6, we were driving, I don't know, somewhere, and we got rooted off of our normal route because of road construction. So we ended up on this detour through this little neighborhood that I'd never been in, and my daughter had never been in. And she suddenly said, stop right here. And I was like, what do you mean, stop right here? And she goes, I want to go to that playground right there. And there was this tiny little playground in this neighborhood. And I was like thinking, why do you want to go to this playground? I kind of felt like, okay, we're in a rush. I kind of want to get home and make dinner and stuff. But instead, I listened to her because, of course I'm gonna listen to her. And so I pull over and we walk over to the park. And pretty much as soon as we got there, within like 5 minutes, one of her friends shows up
Oh, for
Oh,
crying out
wow.
loud.
to play. And that's just a perfect example of knowing. How did she know? We don't know. It was just a knowing. She was not letting the intellect, she was only 6. I mean, little kids, they're not in that space at all. They're just so direct and clear, and they're really accessing that because they haven't lost access to it yet.
That's
And
right.
so then for them, it's not complicated. It's only kind of later on that we make it more complicated, and in kind of a comical way. I mean, speaking for myself, having made it complicated for myself many times too. But I mean, so yeah, it can come through our knowing. And, because it's not always, we think clairvoyance and seeing of, yeah, and yes, we can see and we can envision, but not everybody sees.
Yeah.
or they're more tapped into the knowing. They're more tapped into all different other ways
Right.
that it can come in.
Right.
What about with self-limiting beliefs?
I
Because
was
I
going to
know
ask to that. Yeah, go ahead.
because I know that that plays on a lot of people, right? We I hate labels really, but we label each ourselves. This seems to be the world that we live in, right? We've got
Yeah.
anxiety, we've got depression, we've got ADHD, we've got whatever it is, you know, never really seems to be, oh, I have an abundance of joy.
Yeah.
But so how do you work with that then with your intuition to maybe help guide you away from these beliefs?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, and I love what you said about joy, by the way. Wouldn't it be hilarious if we said, "Oh, I have a joy issue. I just feel too much joy."
What do I do?
But, but yeah, so the self-limiting beliefs, I mean, that is so much part of the human condition. And I always, this is, and I really kind of think this is true when you know how we're in school, we learn what's literally called critical thinking. And we know critical thinking is good. I mean, in the sense that it teaches us to think about things in a certain way. But the funny thing is because we're taught to just do all this critical thinking, I really think that we turn that back on ourselves and it becomes self-critical thinking because it's so much like we're just looking at one little thing, focusing on just on one little thing instead of looking at the big picture. And also because of our experiences when we're growing up in the world, gosh, as we know, not everyone grows up in a really nice family. People grow up in really tough situations, and they also have tough situations in the school system that they go into. All kinds of setups in our lives leave us with these past experiences that we're carrying around. And so we in our mind, really, we have all these like mental image pictures floating around, these images of different past experiences in our lives. And those, and I call them pictures or bookmarked pictures. I like to, in my book, actually, I call them bookmarked pictures because they're little like bookmarked pictures from past experiences that can actually dictate how we feel about ourselves. And some of those pictures we're conscious of, and some of them we're not conscious of. So some of them it's like, oh yeah, I know that one again. And other ones, it's like, oh, that was just under the surface. I didn't even realize that. And so, like, even if you think of the word, well, if you think of the word school, right? Any word that you think of, so if we think of the word school, it brings up all these associations in our minds, doesn't it?
Mhm.
Like, we had a good experience, we had a bad experience, we liked sixth grade, we hated 12th grade. Well, this teacher was mean to us, this teacher was great, this person was mean to us, this person was really kind. We have all these different associations. And so inevitably, we're going to carry around some of those experiences.
Yeah.
But when we become conscious, and I mean, this is what one of the really fun things for me as a clairvoyance teacher teaching intuitive development is people start to become aware of some of what they've been carrying around. These old um, images in our mind that really can affect how we feel. Like those pictures can affect how we feel about our body image, anything like that, how we feel about whether we're good at something or not. It's amazing how sometimes we can be really good at something and we think we're not. Um, and
That's
then
very true.
just we realize, oh my gosh, that's actually just been a bunch of pictures I've been carrying around. I'm actually good at that. Sometimes our greatest gift is actually where we're the most invalidated, where we actually think that we're not good at that and
Mm.
depending on our life circumstances. And so when you start to develop your intuitive awareness, you start to just become more and more aware of like what's just under the surface. And then you start to be able to release that. Because really, as soon as you start to become aware, like, oh, that's not really real. That is an experience that I had in the past that was real. But right now, I'm in present time and I can start to become more neutral to that past experience and
Mhm.
start to let go of the associated, feelings and thoughts that come with it. And so that is something that I mean, I know for myself, I took classes for so long, and I learned, and this is what I teach now, how to be able to look at a certain area of my life where I was really being impacted by critical thoughts. And like, for example, thinking that I'm not good at something, I'm not capable at something, something like that. And then being able to look at it and start to just actually let go the energy of it because it's energy and it's not our energy. And so that's when I always teach people how to differentiate or distinguish what's my energy, what's not my energy. So this self-critical thought, is this really real? Is this really my energy? And they start to read the energy. So I teach people to read the energy and they read it and they go, and I'll guide them through it. What does that energy look like? Oh, it's like a gray blob. Oh, okay. So it's a gray blob. Does that seem like your energy? No. You know, and it's something that they've been carrying around that's just like the energy of a thought, of feeling somewhere where you got wounded along the way, because we've all been wounded along the way in many ways, and we're all going through that process of bringing our conscious awareness to heal it. And so I think there's just so many tools to work with that self-critical mind. Um, Being able to get more grounded in your life and being able to bring more laughter to
Yeah.
where we hit those self-critical feelings and thoughts, and letting our intuition really shine a light on those areas to heal them. The other thing is sometimes people are worried when they do this work of healing themselves, because when you become more intuitive is this natural process of healing yourself and healing your life in some way, that in some area that you want to heal it. But people sometimes are worried, oh, I don't want to open that box, I don't want to go there. And so that's why it's really important to to keep it light in a way, but it's not the same as overriding. You know how people say spiritual overriding, they have that term or whatever. Um, that's really different. I mean, everyone tends to sort of override certain emotions or feelings. So I don't know that there's really no such thing as spiritual overriding. It's just kind of, we push down our emotions and feelings. But I think that when you really go deep with the spiritual work, developing your intuition and healing your life, you want to bring in lots of laughter and lightness as energy, as an energy quality, because then it makes it really easy to let go of the heavy stuff.
Yeah.
If we just go straight into the heavy stuff and we just go there energetically at that level of the heavy stuff, then we're just like, oh, I can't do this. And so I think it's really important. I would never want to take a class with anybody that couldn't bring the lightness in and the laughter to be able to let go of the heavy stuff and go deep in a really safe, because then it's really safe and we start to have more neutrality and we can go, yeah, okay, that experience happened to me, but I'm not that experience. It's really two different things. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, we're not that experience. We have all this wisdom from all our experiences, but we can update it. And so it's kind of like updating to the latest operating system. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's
Like
true.
when we heal something, we go, "Oh my gosh, this is better. I just updated to the latest system and the
Yeah,
whole system is functioning better."
Yeah,
yeah, it's true. Really
exactly.
true.
Well, and it's I think when we can make light in heavy situations like you were referring to, like it changes our vibrational energy. And one of my stepdaughters just said that the other day where I was talking to her, and it was about this situation, and I made a joke, and she goes, "Of course you made light of the situation." But we laughed, and I'm like, "Yes, because we need that laughter in
We
there
do.
to
Yeah, we do.
not sidetrack us, but a little bit, because I think we get
Pull
too
us
deep
down a
into
little
our
bit. Yeah,
stuff
pull us back.
sometimes when it's heavy like that, right?
Yeah.
So we allow ourselves to just get dragged down, but when we can laugh about whatever, whether it's something to do with the situation or not, I think it changes things.
Even laughing at ourselves too,
Yeah.
for little things that we do that, we think, well, see if I just did that, but you laugh about it because it doesn't really matter, as long as you didn't get hurt with it or something, right? So it's really good to bring that laughter in that you can laugh at yourself because then others can laugh easily with you too, right?
Absolutely. I mean, I love that you guys are obviously very tuned into that, the laughter, because I mean, it really changes the energy instantly. And
Hmm.
it's the same thing, like if you look at, who was your favorite teacher at school? It may have been a teacher that made people laugh, or whether they even made people laugh, or whether they just had that. Sometimes people just have that quality. They might be totally straight-faced, not even smiling, but they just carry that. And I think that we match, I mean, everyone matches energy. We're always matching energy, right? We turn on the news, oh my gosh, we match that energy. We talk to a friend, we match that energy. Are they in a laughter space? Or are they in a really, in a space of like drama or conflict or something like that? We match energy everywhere we go. And so the more that we hold that vibration of exactly what you guys are talking about,
Mm.
of inner laughter. I like to call it inner laughter because maybe we're laughing on the outside, maybe we're not. Maybe we can't laugh on the outside because we're talking to our teenager or something, and they'll be mad at us if we start laughing or something. But we're still holding that kind of vibrational frequency. It's very powerful. And the tougher the situation, the rougher the situation, the more helpful it actually is
That's right.
to have that. We can cultivate that just like our intuition. We cultivate it as a vibrational frequency, as a quality in our lives, and it's free. It's like it's not even taxed. Right?
Only thing that isn't probably.
Exactly. I
Yeah.
mean, we have our creativity, we have our imagination, we have our intuition, we have our laughter, all these things that are tremendous, literally life-changing resources.
Yeah.
And we can tap into them and share them with other people. And it really changes how people are around us. You can walk into a meeting and be in that space that you guys were talking about, that laughter space, and it really changes the whole energy of the meeting, or that kind of thing.
Yeah, it
So
definitely does. I would agree with that. Well, you've had so much information for us. So, can you tell everybody where they can find you?
yes, you can find me at gwynethflack.com. That's GWYNETHFLACK. It's a hard name to spell. And yeah, you can my book, Limitless, Transform Your Life with Intuition and Creativity. You can find that on um, bookshop.org or Amazon, or if you're in Canada, what do you call it? Maybe Chapters
Oh, yeah.
or
Yeah.
Indigo, or I don't know, or if you're in the US, your local bookstore too, whatever, you can order it.
Wonderful.
But yeah, or send me an email through my website. I teach classes and work one-on-one with people, and it's always fun to connect.
Wonderful. Well, if you had a final message for everybody, what would it be?
Trust yourself and love yourself and you'll be unstoppable.
I love it.
That's the truth too. That is the truth.
That is the truth. Well, thank you so much for being on with us today. Like I said, we loved the information, and the joy that you have within you, it just exudes to everybody. So
That's right.
thank you so much for being with us.
Yeah, it's been a very big pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you both so much. I loved speaking with you guys. It was my pleasure.
We're excited.
Wonderful. Well, and everybody else, we will see you on the next one.
You bet.